stay alive as they beat the Pittsburgh Penguins in a wild and crazy game at Madison Square Garden by a final score of 5-3. This game saw a lot. It saw the Rangers down by 2. They scored 3 goals in about a less than 3-minute span. Sidney Crosby does lead the game with an injury, very, very likely a concussion. For me, it looked like the Rangers were down and out. Honestly, when they were down 2-0, I'm thinking that's probably the season. But they were able to rally and give the kid line a lot of credit. Like, as has kind of been the case in this series, I've been very impressed by them. And tonight, and maybe it didn't reflect so much on the score sheet, but tonight it certainly did. And that's a great sign for the future, first and foremost. The fact that Chytil, Kako, Lafreniere, all those guys have been really major contributors at that young of an age is great, especially when you have the likes of Mika Zibanejad, who I want to just point out in particular. Zibanejad looks lost. We've seen this with him. Like at the beginning of this season, Zibanejad was terrible. At the beginning of last season, Zibanejad was terrible. This has been a thing with him. When he's come back from injuries, there's certain instances where the guy just looks completely lost. And unfortunately, that's the case with Zibanejad again. It's unacceptable. But I want to single him out. And then again, Chris Kreider as well. It's tough when your center is playing like Mika Zibanejad is, but Kreider as well, not getting it done. Zibanejad and Kreider, and to a lesser extent, Panarin. Like, I think Panarin deserves to be in that conversation, not as much as Zibanejad and Kreider, but Panarin as well. Those really stand out. In other words, the veterans really aren't getting it done, but the kids are. I thought Shesterkin tonight was decent. It was a good third period for Shesterkin. But I have to say, going into Game 6 of Pittsburgh, I don't feel great about Igor right now. And maybe that's foolish, but I don't love Igor's game. And he is due for a really big performance. Whether that comes, we'll see. But this was a step in the right direction. But it was definitely not a dominant Igor performance. This was not like a game 1 or 2 Igor. This was, of course, it couldn't have been any worse. It had to be better than 3 or 4, but it wasn't as good as 1 and 2 in my mind. But like I said, the third period was good for Igor. But a guy who I've left out so far, who I'm going to talk about now, who is really probably one of the more underappreciated New York Rangers, is Ryan Lindgren. Ryan Lindgren, who had been out, he tried to gut it out in Game 1, and he ended up not finishing that triple overtime game. He did not play Game 2, Game 3, or Game 4. He comes back in Game 5, and boy, did it make a difference. Ryan Lindgren, he ends up actually getting an empty net goal as well, which is very deserved. But Lindgren ends up going 19 minutes and 34 seconds. There were a few shifts where I think he didn't play, but he was able to make it happen. And Lindgren, he definitely reminds you of like a Dan Girardi. He really is, where not the most talented, not the biggest either. Very tough, very strong, but he's not necessarily a big defenseman. But he's not afraid to block shots. He is someone that I think you really understand the value to Ryan Lindgren. And what he does for Adam Fox as well. And for Fox, it was kind of an up and down game. But Ryan Lindgren, for me, this game is about the kid line and Ryan Lindgren. Those are the stars of this game. So the Rangers go 11-7, meaning 11 forward, 7 defensemen, which it actually did make sense, because just in case Lindgren got hurt. And so Nemeth was the 7th defenseman. Nemeth played 16 seconds. That's right, 16 seconds. After the Lindgren empty net goal, Nemeth got a shift. So he was on the bench the whole night, and that's the way to go, honestly. Nemeth should not play. Not to say that Braun and Schneider did very well. They did not play much. The Rangers need to lean on that top 4. We'll talk about a guy that may not play, not Ryan Lindgren. We'll talk about a guy that might not play next game, who I thought got a lot better as the night went on, and that's Jacob Trouba. But I think you need to lean on Lindgren, Fox, Miller, Trouba as much as you can for the remainder of this Penguin series, because it's the right idea to have Nemeth out, but Braun Schneider is not exactly a great pair either. So that third pair is a definite weakness for the Rangers. With this all being said, and Dryden, I guess it would be it was Brodzinski. Johnny Brodzinski was out, and Lindgren was in. So 24 seconds into this game, the Rangers take 2 penalties. Kreider slashes Sidney Crosby, and Trouba elbows Jake Guentzel. So it's a 5-on-3 power play for the Pittsburgh Penguins 2 minutes into the game, and the Rangers kill it off. The Rangers, with a very inspiring, I think of it, Andrew Kopp, Ryan Lindgren made some blocks on that. And so you'd think that would have spurred them on. Now, that was a tough beginning, but a really good job of the Rangers where it could have gotten ugly quickly. It doesn't. But the Rangers' first period for me was really underwhelming. I did not love, honestly, the first half of this Ranger game. I considering the circumstances, I was hoping for more. And Jake Guentzel scores again. He actually scored twice tonight. At this point, when this goal happens, it's his 6th goal of the playoffs, and it's Brian Rust and Mike Matheson get the assist at 10:28 of the first. So Guentzel, just a hardworking shift. I believe it was the Mika Zibanejad line that was out. Trouba, I think, had kind of messed up a little bit before this goal. And, so, yeah, that Crosby versus Mika line, it's just such a advantage Penguins. And so the Penguins are up 1-0 going to the second. And in the second, with the kid line on the ice, Adam Fox makes a play that just was not smart. He pinches when he should not have. Fox should have taken a more conservative approach. He put the Rangers in a tough position, and the Penguins score. It's Chris Letang scoring his first goal of the series from Malkin and Zucker at 7:58 to give the Penguins a 2-0 lead. And so at this point, I'm thinking, the Rangers are in trouble because they really weren't generating a whole lot. Not much was happening, but eventually they break through. Before that, though, Sidney Crosby leaves the game in the second period after it was 2-0, and it was a hit from Jacob Trouba. And I have to say, there is concern by me that Trouba will be suspended. Not because I think he deserves it. Honestly, this was a play that was not that – there was no intent to hurt – there was no intent at a headshot. There isn't. Trouba is a hard hitter. And clearly, I think even a Penguin fan I shouldn't say that. It doesn't look great, but honestly, Crosby, was in a vulnerable position. His head was down. And we'll see, just because, it's Crosby and he did get hurt. The thing is, no one called anything on the ice, and it made sense. It was not really a vicious play. Crosby is someone that has a concussion history. If this happens to another player, they might honestly not feel a thing. But because it's Crosby and because he left the game and because the status is in doubt now, it could leave Trouba in a tough spot. And without Trouba, as much as I've been hard on him, that's a big, big loss. But I think what happens here is one fan base is going to be upset. I think the Penguins are hoping that Trouba is suspended. I think the Rangers fans are believe that Trouba should not be suspended. So someone's going to be upset. And maybe I'll be proven wrong here that, that the Penguins and Crosby, I've insinuated that. And while acknowledging that, it's definitely just fandom. And, you like to think that things like that don't happen. And certainly if Trouba's not suspended, then I am extremely wrong, because I think this would be an exact example of what I'm talking about, where it's Crosby, he leaves the game with an injury. He's out. Okay, Trouba, you're suspended. So it's controversial. I think it'll be a definite topic of conversation, but my belief is that it doesn't look great, and so I would not be surprised to suspend it. But truly, this was not a vicious headshot. It just wasn't. Simply, I think anyone that sees that, sure, you can freeze frame it, you can do whatever you want to make it look bad or not bad, but in real time, it was an unfortunate thing, and I hope that Crosby's all right. I really do. I obviously, you don't want to see someone hurt like that. But anyway, back to the flow of the game. The Rangers were able to take advantage of this situation, and the Rangers game was getting better even around the time that Crosby was still in there, to be fair. But Rangers explode for 3 goals in very short order, and it would be Adam Fox scoring his 3rd goal of the series from Andrew Kopp and Ryan Strome at 15:11. So Adam Fox, who it's been up and down. Like I said, he kind of messed up on that second Penguin goal. But Adam Fox is, he's not much of a goal scorer, but that's 3 goals in 5 games for Adam Fox. So I think he should be shooting more, and he has been, and I think that's a good thing. Then it's the kid line that comes through. Alexis Lafreniere, his second goal, he scores in back-to-back games with a beautiful assist by Kaapo Kakko. Kakko behind the net with a backhand dish to Lafreniere, just a great goal. Trouba gets the other assist, and so now we're tied at 2. Then at 17:53, it's Jacob Trouba coming through again. Jacob Trouba really got better as this game went along, and Trouba scores his first of the series from Panarin and Keandre Miller. So that's a couple of goals for the Strome line with Panarin and Kopp. And so just like that, the Rangers score 3 goals in a matter of about 2 minutes and 42 seconds. So very impressive. The Trouba goal, I think Domingue would like to have the Trouba goal back, but the Lafreniere goal, there's nothing he could have done. The Fox one, maybe, but Domingue, I think he'd like to have the Trouba one back. But then the Rangers, in what they've done, 13 seconds later, it's Jake Gensel with his second goal of the game, 7th of the series from Malkin. 13 seconds later, on a play where Igor Shesterkin, bad play where he passes it out in front, and of course it goes over Mika Zibanejad's stick. So for me, Igor and Mika are responsible for that goal. And Mika Zibanejad has just been a complete mess and disaster. But Igor Shesterkin needs to be smarter there. And so that was a leaky goal and just not great. And so it's 3-3. So all, for me at least, that amazing explosion was tempered. But we go to the third, and all of a sudden the penalties start to happen. And I thought the refs did not do a great job in the third on both sides. I think both sides would complain. And I think the Rangers probably even got the edge in terms of the calls. I'll admit that. The Rangers, I think, got the better of the calls in the third period, including an interference call, Marcus Pettersson on Andrew Kopp at 108. This was the first Ranger power play of the night. And I did not think this was necessarily worthy of a penalty, but the Rangers take advantage of this. As it's not the number 1 unit, it's the second unit at the end of the power play that scores. It's Filip Chytil's first playoff goal. In my opinion, he should have had one in game 1. We might revisit that after the series. But Filip Chytil gets his first goal of playoffs, deservedly so, from and then assist by Vetrano and Lafreniere. So the second unit comes through. This is a goal at 2:53. Nice shot by Chytil. Maybe Domingue wants that one back as well. Tough to say, but it was a nice shot by Filip Chytil. And so that ends up being the game-winning goal. Rangers take a 4-3 lead. Then at 6:57, this is where, as a Ranger fan, you're a little upset. Ryan Strome called for an unsportsmanlike conduct. And, if you're Strome does, he does complain an awful lot to the refs. It's tough to say what exactly caused this penalty. Unsportsmanlike conduct is an interesting call. And you'd like for them to not call that in the playoffs, but they do. But the Rangers penalty field does a good job. And then before it's out, there's a scrum between Malkin and Lindgren. They both go off, but then Gensel punches Adam Fox in the head after the play. So the Rangers end up with a power play, unsuccessful. And then at 12:38, Kevin Rooney gets under Evgeny Malkin's skin, and Malkin takes a penalty on Rooney. Now, Evgeny Malkin, that's the thing with him. You can get him off his game, and good job by Rooney to get under his skin. And Malkin, honestly, it was a classic Malkin, high cross check to the face. He got suspended for that early in the year, so that's the thing. It's like, Crosby obviously gets hurt on the Trouba play, but Malkin, that was a legitimately dirty play, but you just, again, with the NHL, you just never know what's going to happen. There's no way Malkin's going to get suspended, but it was a dirty play. But the Rangers power play doesn't come through again. And that's where this whole, Panarin, Zibanejad, Kreider, it's like those guys are not really coming through and pulling their weight at all. But the Rangers are able to hold on. Igor, Shesterkin was able to make some really key saves in the third period. He was at his best in the third period. And like I said, Ryan Lindgren gets the empty net goal. And he deserved this. What a gutsy effort for someone who's clearly injured, but still effective. So Lindgren gets that. Rangers win it 5-3. A fun game at Madison Square Garden, and a lot of storylines that come out of it. Of note, the Rangers they're just getting killed on the faceoffs. Penguins was 67% to 33. They're winning 2/3 of the faceoffs. That's completely unacceptable. Zibanejad got crushed. Everyone basically did. I mean, Kopp was their best chance, and he was 44%. So just bad across the board, and that hurts. But what happens going into game 6? I mean, the Rangers still face the elimination, and they played very poorly at Pittsburgh, very much so. That's what has me concerned. But what happens now? In terms of the Penguins have some guys that might be on the mend. Not Brian Dumoulin, but Ricard Raquel, how close is he? Tristan Jarry, how close is he? I don't think we see Jarry in 6, but maybe if there's a 7, maybe that's a tough spot to put him in. But and then of course Sidney Crosby's the big one. And then what happens with Jacob Trouba in terms of will there be a suspension? So a lot to kind of sink our teeth into heading into Friday. Honestly, I hope Crosby's healthy and I hope Trouba plays. Give me sort of the full strength, as much as possible for both teams. It would suck to see Trouba get suspended because I don't think it's worthy of that. And at the same time, I hope Crosby's okay because, obviously he's one of the great players of the game. It would suck to not, obviously from Ranger perspective, it probably helps them if he's not in there. Although I don't think that guarantees you a win by any means at all. It really does not. But we shall see. This has been a fun series. I'm hoping the Rangers can find a way to somehow steal game 6 on the road. It will not be easy. I felt better about game 5 than I do about game 6. This is the one for me. This is the one where I'm not feeling extra confident. I got to be honest, but this Ranger team has surprised me all year long. So really, what you need is the veterans to come through. If you have another no-show for Mika Zibanejad, it's probably lights out, is how I see it. And Igor Shesterkin, he needs to, get back to the player that we saw during the season. And it's been a struggle at Pittsburgh. So this is going to be fun. We'll see what happens. Rangers go back to Pittsburgh, and they hope to head back home for Game 7 at Madison Square Garden. But it will take a lot of work, and what will be a very challenging game back at Pittsburgh Friday night, Game 6.